Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Francesco and I make videos as Distilled Noise on this channel about minimal house music, micro house music and all the things about that music style production. So, third episode of how to start with modulars. I already talked about how to pick your case, your eurorack case, how to know which oscillator you should start with, and now the third episode is about modulations. This is a series that didn't have a great success based on views that the videos had. I know why it didn't get so much success probably, and it's because in this niche that we are in, so minimal micro house music, a lot of people that starts making music don't want to invest so much money for a synthesizer, and I get that. But I will still finish the series because, first of all, I think it's a topic that doesn't get old. So when you will feel ready to start your modular adventure, you will find the videos on YouTube ready to help you a little bit. Second thing is also a thing that I do for myself because I get always the same questions. And so I think that being able to point people to my videos on YouTube will save some time for me, but also will help you to understand better topics without staying on Instagram texting what you should have and buy. Let's get started with the video. To begin with, what are modulations? Modulation is basically a voltage that varies in time. Every module in your eurorack will have inputs that are made for receiving modulation voltage to control a certain parameter of the module. So, for example, to control the movement of this knob on my module plus. And so that's why that modulation is also called control voltage, because it's a voltage that control something. You have to think like of control voltage like having multiple hands that keeps moving parameters on your eurorack module. So if you don't want to have a lot of friends helping you while playing with modules, you need to have some modules that are dedicated to create a control voltage, a modulation, and send it to other modules and control their parameters. There are different types of modules that can generate control voltage. Some of them are LFOs, envelope generators, random voltage generators. These are all modules that send out a voltage that varies with time. I have two on my eurorack. The first one is Rampage. The second one is Dual ADSR. They are both two envelope generators, but the Rampage is actually way more because it can be also slew limiter, a low pass filter, also an oscillator. So it's a very powerful module that you can use for a lot of purposes, but mainly it's capable of sending out a voltage. Like you probably already know, envelopes are modules that can send out a voltage that starts from 0, go up to a certain voltage, and then go back to 0. That's what an envelope does. It has a cycle that goes up and then back down to 0 value. That certain voltage, the maximum voltage that it can reach, it's different from a module to another. So for example, on Rampage, that voltage is 10 voltage plus 10 voltage, which is the maximum voltage that you can have as a control voltage. While on Dual ADSR is 5 voltage. So what does that mean? It means that a modulation on a parameter made with Rampage will be bigger than one made with Dual ADSR. Also, both modules have a cycle function here on the Dual ADSR and here on the Rampage, a cycle function that keeps repeating that cycle, because the envelope mode basically starts the cycle when it receives an impulse, a trigger, and then it ends it and it doesn't repeat anymore. While if you go on cycle, you start having this envelope and it keeps repeating like an LFO. The main difference with an LFO, I think it's the fact that on an LFO you can send out values that goes, for example, from -5 to +5. So it goes from negative values to positive values. On an envelope you can just go from 0 to positive values or from 0 to negative values. So for example, on Rampage it goes only up to positive values, while on the dual ADSR I have here two outputs. One is for positive values, so it goes from 0 up to 5 and then back to 0. One is for negative values, so it goes from 0 to -5 and then back to 0. So basically it makes a knob modulate counterclockwise, and that's what happens with negative values. With Rampage I can't send out negative values, but I would need an inverter, so a dedicated module to invert the voltage after it comes out from Rampage. Then of course they have the control on the time of the envelope. So on Rampage, as you can see, I have a rise time. I have two envelopes. I have a rise time, so how much it takes to go up to 10 volts, and a fall time, so how much it takes to go back to 0. On the dual ADSR I have more control on the envelope, so I have attack time, decay time, sustain level, and then release time, and I have two of them. That's basically it. Now, speaking of inverting the voltage, as I told you, you can have a dedicated module. Most of the time these dedicated modules are called attenuverter because they can invert the voltage but also attenuate the voltage. So instead of having 10 volts, it goes inside this other module, this attenuverter, and you attenuate the voltage back to 5, for example, and then you send it to the module that you want to modulate. Some modules, for example Platts and a chemist cycle, have attenuverters integrated. These very small knobs or modules are most of the times attenuverters. So that means that if I go out from Rampage and inside this input to modulate timbre, I can decide to go all the way up to 10 volts with the modulation, so we'll modulate as much as it can, or I can attenuate that volt, so I will have a sort of reduction of modulation. So instead of doing this, it will do something like this. So you can have a sort of dry wet of the modulation. But with attenuverters you can also go on negative values, so it inverts the voltage and it attenuates to the amount that you want. So same thing, but in this case it will go on this direction. Now if we take a look at all the modules that I have here on this first row, we can see there are a lot of jack inputs, and most of them are inputs for control voltage. All these inputs here are for control voltage, or these inputs here are for control voltage, same thing for this. So as you can see, on modular systems, control voltage, modulations are a big thing, and it's the main thing. They are the core thing about a modular system, and that's why we like them so much, because we're able to take a sound and add a certain amount of modulations that are not synced one with the other, and so that creates a sort of serendipity, and sometimes we can achieve very nice combinations. So now enough rambling, let's try to make a patch. Let's try to see how modulation works, how I think when I try to connect things in order to achieve a pleasant sound. I hope it will be something nice to hear. So I will use Platts to generate some chords, and I go from Platts inside Clouds, where I'll apply some effects, some delay effect and granular synthesis on the sound going out from Platts to Clouds. Then from Clouds I'll go inside Ripples, which is a filter, and then I'll modulate both Clouds, Ripples, and maybe also Platts with these two modules. Okay, I have already my output going out from Ripples. Now from my Beatstep Pro, I go inside Gate here on Trigger, and inside a pitch on voltage per octave. So I go from out to input on clouds, and then from clouds I need to go inside the filter. So let's sequence. Okay, right. So now the filter is fully open. Let's put this in solo. And clouds, it's not working. It's in, all the dry wet is, the signal is all dry. I hope it's bright enough. I'm not sure. So let's open this. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is sending a trigger signal to the freeze button. If you press freeze, you can keep repeating the same pattern, the same grain, let's say. And so I want to trigger it to switch on and off here with the freeze, with this output trigger that Rampage send out. So you can hear this effect that from time to time now let's also close the filter a little bit. Let's modulate the filter with the dual ADSR, the positive values of the envelope. And see how it goes with all the rest. Quite nice. Also, let's send an envelope to the position knob on cloud. So the length, the position of the grain sampled change, and also we can do that for the size. So let's use instead of this cable, I use this and change, because this, let me explain, just 1 second. Put this on the frequency. This one has the possibility of taking the output and going inside an input, but also connect another cable on top of it, so I'll send the output to two different control voltage inputs. And here you can change the rate. I can lower the rate of the envelope. I can make it fast. So as you can see, this light blink at a faster rate. Oh, we could also modulate the morphing. So the sound changes a little bit. If I go out from the trigger here, so when the beat step send the trigger for the chord, I also send a trigger to this envelope, the second one, because this one is in cycle mode, so it keeps going around again and again. This one, I want it to switch off the cycle mode and trigger it just when I send the trigger for the chord, and see what happens. So we can trigger this envelope and then sending the output from this envelope again back to where is it? Oh, almost already. Yeah, again back to the morph parameters, so we can change a little bit the sound of the chord. We could do the same for the timbre. We could take another gate, another envelope from the second ADSR that I have here. So interesting things happen, as you can hear. Interesting things happen, as you can hear, and the more you dig into this, the more you can find serendipity and nice combinations. Of course, all the things, as I said, have to be edited. You can't keep the whole thing, but these are all cables for modulations, because the sound is going out just from plots. Something is added on clouds, some more texture, but everything else is made with modulations. So guys, I hope you had a little bit of an insight of what modulations are for, how you can use them, how they work. If you have any question, ask in the comments. If you have modules, experiment. If you don't have them, consider that you can't get everything figured out until you put your hands on them. So don't be afraid if you don't know everything before buy them. Just start buying the right ones. Maybe accept advices from friends and people who are already into modulars, but start your modular experience if you can. And then you learn as long as you go. Okay, so like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers guys, bye bye.